Isaac Newton once said, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." This year, we have seen further by building on our teams, both past and present. Hi, I'm Houston, and I'm joined by my colleagues Tram, Jason, and Cece, and we're the team from UNSW, and we're very excited today to share with you the impact that we've made over the last 12 months. We will begin with the Fortunate Food Co., where we will discuss how we grew our production and sales of our chutney through new distribution channels in our fight on food waste. Then we'll move to Uplift, where we will discuss how we created and piloted t-shirt design workshops to empower the homeless individuals of Sydney to create t-shirts to be sold at market stalls. Lastly, we'll move to the Soy Barter project, where we will discuss our vision for how we will empower female micro-entrepreneurs through a franchising model in the rural village of Soy Barter in East Timor. But first, let's begin with Fortunate Food Co.
Every year, Australian households waste 1.3 million tonnes of fresh produce, the same as if every single person in Australia discarded 20% of the food that they purchased. Now, imagine walking out of a store, holding 5 grocery bags, dropping one in the car park, and not bothering to pick it up. That's essentially what we're doing today. And this becomes a major issue when each discarded produce produces a greenhouse gas 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide. 3 years ago, we saw an opportunity to tackle this environmental issue by transforming discarded tomatoes into delicious chutney which we could sell. This became Fortunate Food Co. And in the second half of last year, we produced 83 jars of chutney and sold 60 at 4 Bondi Market stores. And although we were proud of our achievements, there were 2 main obstacles that prevented us from scaling our impact. In terms of production, previously we relied on donated tomatoes to help produce our chutney. However, this meant that supply was inconsistent, limiting the number of jars that we were able to produce. So we partnered up with Harris Farms, where we were able to purchase disfigured tomatoes at a discounted price of $1 per kilogram. This has enabled us to hold cooking sessions more frequently at our big kitchen, our partner community kitchen, resulting in an increase of 200% of jars produced. Now that we've secured a consistent supply of tomatoes, our next step in scaling our impact is to increase our sales. This year, we have transitioned from selling our chutney from monthly stores to fortnightly stores. We've also held 5 pop-up stores at corporate locations such as Unilever and Macquarie Bank. However, we realized that this was not a scalable way to increase our impact, as it was not only labor-intensive, but time-consuming as well. So we tried to scale our supplies of labor by creating an Airbnb experience, where for a small fee, participants were given a tour around the Bondi markets, as well as having the opportunity to sell the chutney and receiving one for themselves. However, we also realized that this was just as labor-intensive as holding market stores. So this led us to consider grocers as an alternative sales channel, which is why we're now proud to announce that we stock our chutney on the shelves of 2 grocers in Bondi, Bondi Grocer and Connor's Corner. We sell them our jars at $6, leaving us a profit margin of 45%. The grocers will then mark up for $8, leaving them a profit margin of 33%. Our decision this year to partner up with grocers is important for us for 2 reasons. Firstly, we are now able to expand away from Bondi markets and now transition to a more scalable medium, whilst retaining our key point of differentiation, which is the story on our labels. We're also proud to say that our chutney has been enjoyed by our customers as we are able to restock 3 times. And secondly, with each jar saving almost 1 kilogram of tomatoes and almost 1.2 kilograms of greenhouse gas emissions, commercializing our chutney will scale our impact and maximize our contribution to the fight against these emissions. Now, in the past financial year, we have rescued a further 220 kilograms of tomato, equivalent to 10 standard-sized fridges completely filled with only tomatoes. We've also reduced an additional 300 kilograms of greenhouse gas emissions, the same as an average household's energy use for 10 days. We've also sold another 250 jars of chutney, made another $2,000 in revenue, which is a 25% sales growth compared to our last financial year. Now, we want to build on the success of Fortunate Food Co. and build for long-term sustainability. 6 months from now, we're planning to expand into 6 additional grocers, looking at other suburbs with similar demographics, such as Coogee and Maroubra. Our long-term vision is that with enough economic sustainability, we'll be now able to provide employment opportunities for those during the chutney production process. And furthermore, we want to expand our product line by collaborating with UNSW Food Science and Technology. Today, we've showcased to you the success that comes from our product-based business. We'll now turn our attention to how we've built this for our next project, Uplift.
So Uplift is a project currently gaining momentum, and we're excited to share with you our progress. We see people sleeping rough in makeshift beds on the concrete pavements of Sydney. We see the extreme cases of homelessness, but what we don't see are the 94% of homeless people who still have roofs over their heads, but who don't have a place to call home. After learning this, we were curious to delve deeper. We began gathering data from homelessness organisations like Project Youth and interviewed local outreach services like Salvation Army's Oasis and Glebe Youth Services to comprehend firsthand the confronting nature of homelessness. We found that existing services focus their attention toward alleviating physical needs by providing medical, food, and basic hygiene services like haircuts and showers. However, there were very few services which adequately address the social and emotional well-being of those whose homes and whose lives had been uprooted. We spoke to people like Michael, an ambitious young adult in refuge accommodation who felt isolated and who lacked direction and confidence in his interpersonal skills. And like thousands of others, Michael's problems began from a very young age and exacerbated into adulthood. He's just one of the 44,000 Australians aged 25 and under experiencing homelessness. So after hearing his story, we were inspired to create a social business that, one, improves their social and emotional well-being and provides community support, and two, achieves early intervention from a young age to promote brighter, more promising futures. And this led us to create Uplift, a community youth program that gives young people in homelessness the opportunity to design and hand paint their very own t-shirts. Often, young people like Michael turn to substance abuse as a mechanism to cope with their circumstances, but Uplift gives them an alternative outlet, a canvas to creatively express their anxieties, their hopes, their dreams in a safe environment that gives them control over the stories they share. We envisioned we could sell these t-shirts to the market and redistribute 60% of the profits back to our young community. Last December, we ran our very first pilot with Project Youth. We sourced donated t-shirts and donated paint and brought together 7 young participants with a local artist to bring t-shirt designs to life. However, we were concerned of the scalability and the sustainability of our program. On one side, hand-painting t-shirts was labour-intensive, requiring 2 to 3 hours per shirt. And on the other hand, there were quality control issues around the designs as participants had different artistic abilities. So last month, we partnered with Oasis Youth Network and 7 young participants, where we pivoted to a lower cost, more scalable production process of screen printing. And this allowed us to, 1, produce commercially viable shirts more efficiently with potentials of up to 20 shirts an hour. And 2, maintain that hands-on engagement of youth to give them a strong sense of empowerment and fulfillment.
Using a survey designed with the Centre for Social Impact, we were able to quantify exactly how we were impacting them on a social and mental well-being front across 5 different dimensions. Our results were promising, with average scores of 4 out of 5 and above across each of these dimensions. Now, of these 5 metrics, 3 of them were particularly interesting to our team. First of all, our greatest impact was to their self-esteem, where 12 out of 14 participants reported that we had increased their sense of fulfillment and accomplishment. Secondly, 79% of participants reported that we had increased their sense of confidence in their ability to create art. And thirdly, 71% had reported that we had increased their sense of interconnectedness with their peers by improving those relationships. Now, whilst these results are encouraging, we understand that our impact extends far beyond just these numbers. During an Uplift workshop, we met a young, ambitious boy who had incredible artistic talent. However, he lacked the confidence to put himself out there. After the completion of the Uplift workshops, he regained a newfound sense of confidence and showcased 3 of his t-shirt designs to our team. And he also expressed his interest to return back to the team to contribute to the Uplift cause. Now, ultimately, it's these intangible impacts that really give substance to what we do. In 2018, Uplift built on the progress of its team by building 3 new partnerships, such as the Glebe Youth Services. With these new partnerships, Uplift will be able to create 3 new workshops that will run for a month each for the rest of the year, empowering an additional 20 young individuals. We also plan to generate revenues through 2 key revenue streams: paid workshops and t-shirt sales. With the paid workshops, we plan to charge a small fee to our youth organizations who are currently partnered with us and the new ones who plan to partner with us. With the t-shirt sales, we plan to sell our t-shirts for $25 each, and at this price, we believe by the end of the year, we will be able to sell 112 units based on some primary market research that we've done at the Bondi Market stalls, where 17 out of 21 participants reported that they would be interested in purchasing our shirts for at least $25. Now, once we've reached scale, this $25 will produce a 61% profit margin. 60% of these profits will be returned to the youth in the form of income, and 40% will be returned back to Uplift for future growth. Now, in 2018, Uplift stood on the shoulders of giants and built on its work to empower the young, homeless community of Sydney.
Now, after our success with Uplift, we realized the scalable impact that train-the-trainer models had on disadvantaged communities within Australia. So, with more experience under our belts, we took our passion and drive internationally. The journey of the Soibada project began in June last year, when we traveled to the rural village of Soibada from its capital city, Dili, of East Timor for over 6 hours over rickety roads. Over the course of a week, we trialled over 100 sanitary kits and delivered menstrual health workshops to over 75 women at 2 local high schools. After spending a week with these strong, resourceful women, we realized that there were deep underlying issues in the rural village of Soibada. We talked to Maria, a young, bright-minded girl who dreams of owning her own hair salon. She goes to school every day where she hopes to learn the skills to make her dream a reality. However, after talking to Maria, we realized that despite her aspirations, she has to overcome the expectations that her community has placed upon her to get married and support her family. She feels powerless, defeated, and with the pressure of her parents, she quit school early because what's the point? After conducting a series of extensive face-to-face interviews with these girls, their families, and the local community, we realized that Maria is just one of thousands of girls deprived of the opportunity to pursue their dreams. After analyzing their struggles, we narrowed it down to 3 key needs. Firstly, the lack of career opportunities, with over 90% of women defaulting to a domestic role within the family. Secondly, the insufficient levels of education, with dropout rates as high as 65% by as early as year 10. And thirdly, the insufficient access to sanitary materials, with only 2 kiosks supplying the sanitary needs for over 2,000 women within the community. To tackle these problems, we created our 3-pronged solution. Firstly, by upskilling these women on 2 fronts, feminine hygiene as well as business skills. On the front of business skills, we plan to run a comprehensive social entrepreneurship program which will teach them core skills such as accounting and inventory management, complemented by strategic skills such as business development. Armed with this new knowledge, women like Maria can now begin practicing these skills in real life by selling pads provided by us in the form of a microloan. The majority of the profits generated from these sales will go towards the women as revenue, with the rest back to us in order to purchase the next shipment of pads. After becoming profitable, women like Maria will begin to expand their business by upskilling women around them and allowing this enterprise to scale exponentially. This was after we pivoted our business model through outsourcing parts of the value chain such as manufacturing and packaging to overseas suppliers, as we had no real competitive advantage in doing this in-house, hence allowing us to focus on parts of the value chain such as marketing and sales. Using this business model, we believe we are able to make 3 key impacts. Firstly, the creation of job opportunities by allowing these women to establish their first revenue streams. If Maria is able to sell 10 pads a day, this means that she'll be able to generate enough revenue to cover grocery needs for the whole family for that entire day. Secondly, the improved levels of education, which will be monitored through surveys both before and after our program in order to track their progress. And thirdly, the increased access to sanitary materials, which will decrease the probability of these women contracting urogenital diseases as well as other reproductive health issues. Currently, our business model follows a 3-step implementation process. The first of which is a pilot in November this year, where we'll be traveling to Soibata once again and piloting this program with 20 female champions, just like Maria, with our partners, the Pittwater Friends of Soibata and the Soibata Clinic. The second step is fine-tuning our program by taking on board the feedback provided to us by these women in order to optimize their learning experience. The third step is to gradually pass on additional responsibilities, such as supplier relationship management, in order for these businesses to become self-sustainable. Our end vision is for these women to upskill the women around them, empower each other, and eventually exit our business in order to pursue business ventures that they're truly passionate about.
Our projects are culminations of the lessons and experiences learned by teams both past and present. At Enactus UNSW, we have seen further, and it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. Thank you.
We will now begin the question and answer session. Only judges may ask questions.
Congratulations, great presentation, guys. I'm just curious, you've got $100,000 in profits and you've got 3 fantastic projects. How do you intend to utilise what's quite a substantial amount of money to sort of accelerate those projects?
Sure, so our projects are varying in terms of maturity, with FFC being the main revenue generator. However, with Uplift and the Soibata project, we are projects in the process of intensive capital expenditure. For example, for Soibata project, we need to cover costs such as flying over there, running these workshops, and maintenance. However, we see that this is quite a short-term prospect, and in the future, we'll be able to generate sustainable revenue to return our profitability to normal levels.
Thank you, guys. With the Uplift project, how do you make sure that the individuals, the youth that go through the workshop continue to see that benefit ongoing after the workshops are finished?
So thank you for your question. With Uplift, we are currently measuring short-term impacts and long-term impacts. As for long-term impacts, we hope to maintain connections with these youth after our workshop. So within the next 6 months, we're running 5-week workshops, and after that, we want to maintain the connection to ensure that what we're instilling in them, the improvement in their social and emotional well-being, stays with them by running surveys such as the K10, which is a recognized psychological distress survey afterwards, to ensure that our impacts remain long-term.
Can you please talk me through the upscaling of the Fortunate Food Co, how you're going to ensure that you've got enough tomatoes to continue to expand as you're looking to put it into more supermarket or stores, and also obviously your cooking capabilities to be able to produce the actual chutneys?
So just to re-clarify, your question is in regards to how we're going to upscale Fortunate
How are you going to cater for that upscaling as you're looking to go into more stores and obviously needing more product for those stores?
Absolutely, yeah. So currently our short-term goal is to expand into that 6 additional grocers. So we're doing that. Our community kitchen, so our big kitchen, has enough production capacity to be able to supply for the demand for 6 additional grocers. However, once we're able to supplement that demand for 6 additional grocers and look into other channels such as supermarket chains and grocers like Woolworths stuff, we'll be able to look into commercial kitchens, industrial kitchens, with the revenue and profit that we have made with the 6 additional grocers.
I think the question's related to that, which is how are you going to guarantee continuity of supply for tomatoes to be able to scale up the opportunity?
So, the previous issue that we had was, of course, we relied on donated tomatoes from Second Bite, and with that limited our numbers of jars. So that's why we looked into missing gap in the food chain, which is retailers' waste. And we're able to rely on those consistent waste from retailers. So we intervene into that and able to collect those consistent amount of tomatoes.
I might get cut off, but I've just got one more quick question. The 20 females in the Soy Barter project, is that too many? What if, how many can you have in one area, one place, that are going to take that forward as a business opportunity?
Yep, that's a great question. So the reason why we chose the number 20 is because it's small enough in order for us to be intensive with our workshops, but still big enough in that in the event that we leave, they can help each other retain the knowledge and practice together as a business unit. And that's for management purposes of us limiting risks in regards to profit retention or paying back the microloan. So that's why 20, we believe, is a number big enough for that knowledge to be retained and for the model to be successful.
With regard to Uplift, can you let me know where your T-shirts are sourced from and if you have turned your mind to environmental sustainability?
So in our implementation process, we have looked towards using donated T-shirts and donated paint, but we found that this was a very prominent issue in terms of quality control. So it's really hard to sell, donated T-shirts, donated paint. So currently, we are focused on generating revenue from the T-shirts that we're selling now, and from this revenue, we will look into buying T-shirts of organic cotton and looking more so into sustainable T-shirts.
Judges, please join me in thanking the University of New South Wales for their presentation and hard work.